Hello, powerful creators. Welcome to the Frequency Led podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about an interesting subject, which is the number 0 and how significant it is for the work that I am doing and the masterclass that I am conducting every month through 2026. So when you listen to this episode, my next masterclass, which is Close the Gap Between Your Current and Desired Reality and Open to Possibilities, it's going to be offered in September, on September 16th, which will be Thursday. But now, let me tell you how this whole topic came about. My husband and I, on weekends, we have this tradition. So when we wake up, usually it's about like 8-9 o'clock, and we make our fresh cup of coffee. I love the coffee smell, and this is just always for me a reminder to smell the beauty, the richness, the abundance of this coffee bean, and this coffee bean that has potential to surprise us with a smell, to enrich our connection and enliven possibilities. We sit on that back porch, we drink coffee, we see this beautiful greenery in front of us, the sun is shining, and it's just one of the special moments on weekends. And then, I don't even know how, but we started to talk about perhaps nothingness. And then somehow my husband, how he comes about, he brings this topic of the number 0. And then I got curious and I did some research and essentially created this podcast because I had to think how this number 0, which represents nothingness, actually relates to the work that I'm doing and the presentation that I'm doing now in September when you listen to this podcast. And before I proceed, I would love for you to reflect, if you want to pause here, what is your relationship with nothingness? Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable we are with emptiness, which represents nothingness, or how our mind might be interpreting it? An empty calendar, an empty bank account, an empty room, an unanswered email, a season where nothing seems to be happening. Our mind immediately rushes to fill the space. Something must be wrong. I am behind. I'm losing momentum. I'm not doing enough. This forms our identity. These statements form our filter. But what if we've misunderstood emptiness all along? So, I want to introduce you to one of the most extraordinary ideas in human history, in human consciousness: 0. Not just as a number, but as a way of seeing your life. Thousands of years ago, mathematicians in India made a discovery that completely transformed civilizations. They gave a symbol to what appeared to be nothing. The Sanskrit word for 0 was sunya. It did not simply mean nothing. It meant empty, open, spacious. A field of possibility. Think about that. The greatest mathematical breakthrough was not about creating more. It was about recognizing the power of what appeared to be empty. Without 0, we would not have algebra. We would not have computers. We would not have modern science. We would not have calculus. The entire world changed because humanity learned how to relate differently to nothing. And I think we're standing at a similar moment in our lives. Because whenever life becomes uncertain, whenever we don't know what's next, whenever the old identity no longer fits but the new one has not fully arrived, a nervous system interprets that space as danger. The mind says, fill it. Find certainty, find the answer, control the outcome, go back to what's familiar. But what if uncertainty is not a problem? What if uncertainty is your personal zero? Not the absence of your future, the space where your future is waiting to emerge. I often tell my clients that the greatest expansion of my life always began with uncertainty. When I moved to America, I didn't speak English. Zero. No community. Zero. No business. Zero. No money. Zero. No certainty about how things would work. If I had interpreted all of those zeros as evidence that nothing was possible, I probably would have gone home. Instead, those empty spaces became the very places where possibility appeared. The business arrived, the people arrived, the opportunities arrived, and I had to select. So all of that happened, not because I knew exactly what would happen, but because I was willing to stay present in the unknown long enough for life to reveal itself. Maybe you're experiencing a zero right now. Maybe it's in your business. Maybe it's in your relationships. Maybe it's in your career. Maybe you've outgrown your current identity, but your next chapter has not fully taken shape. Instead of asking, what's missing? Maybe ask, what's trying to emerge? Because they are very different questions. One comes from lack, the other one comes from possibility. I've realized something over the years. Expansion does not usually begin with addition. It begins with space. Nature understands this. A seed does not immediately become a tree. There is a period underground where everything looks like nothing. Winter looks empty. A blank canvas looks empty. A womb looks empty before life becomes visible. Yet everything essential is already happening. Maybe the same is true for you. Maybe what feels like emptiness is actually preparation. Maybe what feels like waiting is becoming. Maybe what feels like nothing is full of more possibility than you've ever imagined. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching uncertainty differently. Because most people believe uncertainty is the gap they need to survive. I don't. I believe uncertainty is the threshold. The doorway between the identity you've been living and the identity your vision is asking you to become. You don't have to fight uncertainty. You don't have to eliminate it. You simply have to learn how to relate to it differently. That's exactly what we'll explore in my upcoming complimentary masterclass, Close the Gap: How Uncertainty Becomes Your Greatest Advantage for Expansion. This is not another class about positive thinking. It's an exceptional journey. We'll explore why your brain predicts the familiar, how your nervous system interprets uncertainty, and how to retrain both so uncertainty becomes a signal of expansion instead of contraction. You'll leave with practical tools, embodied experiences, and a completely different relationship with the unknown. Because your greatest possibilities don't exist inside certainty, they exist just beyond it. Until next time, remember this: zero was not the end of mathematics. It was the beginning of everything that became possible. Maybe this season of your life isn't empty either. Maybe it's simply waiting for you to recognize the infinite potential already hidden inside it.